Hi, my name's Bridget. I'm from Montreal.
All right, Brigitte, how do you feel the internet has provided you with more freedoms?
I definitely feel like it's easy to browse and access all sorts of information online, and a lot of things are readily accessible.
I guess the internet's increased my freedom a little bit because it gives you more options to get information or socially connect with people on the internet, but at the same time it kind of restrains your time because you spend more time using the internet than you do at face-to-face contact.
Alright, I'm Becca McKenzie, and as far as the internet being more free, I think it's a huge difference in being able to, everything I have access to, and, I know there's creepier parts of, you can find things out about people that maybe they don't want to know, but, also just the ability to, explore different areas and different kinds of information that, you wouldn't really have access to easily, especially if you're doing a project on something and then you find out this whole other area that's incredibly fascinating, but you don't have time to dig through, old manuscripts, because I'm a religious studies major. I can hop online and I can find copies of things in old German, and it works out really nice. So I guess it enhances freedom, but it also limits it because once something's on the internet, it's there forever. So you can't hide that embarrassing picture from a party where you were maybe not doing everything that you're supposed to be doing, or things you'd rather forget or that you don't want people to know they have access to. So I guess it's kind of limiting in that you have to censor yourself a lot more and it's harder to hide things.
I think it's fairly free. It's limited by other people's opinions, really. Whereas opposed if you're in other countries where they tend to monitor internet, some countries censor or even shut the internet down completely.
Mm-hmm.
We haven't seen it on any sort of scale here, so yeah, the internet here is fairly free and open, and you are free to express your opinions as long as they are not threatening to anybody else.
More free? Well, obviously the freedom of information. I use the internet to look up things that I'm interested in. If I see something and want to research more about it, just type away. Yeah.
Have you heard about / experienced internet issues maybe globally?
Well, not for me personally, but I heard of the censorship issues in China especially.
Let's see. Recently, I was looking at the how the Chinese government handles whatever it's called. Sorry, I'm blanking on the word here. Censorship. Yeah, censorship, and how basically, I don't know. I believe free information should be everything should be available, and to censor one thing, who's to say you can't censor another? So I don't know. I think it should all be free.
Studying in New Zealand, I found that the internet was a lot different. It was a lot slower, and you got limited amount of wireless use. So once you max out on that use, you got reverted to dial-up speed, which made getting information and just using the internet in general a lot slower. You couldn't use basic websites and no Skype or anything like that.
But I had a really good friend who went to Tunisia for about half a year and then stayed there working as a journalist, and just even being able to Facebook her and contact her, there were times when she was like, oh, I can't get on Facebook because they've blocked internet for this whole trip because she was there on a work visa as a journalist in the summer, so they'd try to cut off access sometimes, and things like being able to contact her was, I guess, really different because I didn't realize that there were so many limits on what she couldn't say to me or couldn't post. And sometimes I put a funny picture and she'd be like, oh, it said it was blocked, I couldn't read it, it's not allowed, so just try to tell me about it later, describe what it was. So it was really different over there. So I guess the internet's a totally different thing when you're in the middle of the Arab Spring and there's riots and stuff.
How do you think the web relates to politics today and maybe in the future?
I mean, politics, you see a lot of stuff on Twitter and Facebook pages and stuff. And so I definitely feel it'll get more and more intense online and on the internet because it's become a huge promotion thing for campaign and stuff.
I guess politics can be changed by the internet because it gives people more access to information. I guess we'd hope that we'd see maybe more honest politicians because people would have better access to information that might fact check these people. But at the same time, it'll also polarize people because they'll just look at sources that support their views and cement in their heads what they already believe.
I think the internet makes politics a lot more of like a here and now kind of thing, as opposed to something where like as soon as something happens, we know, and the information gets spread, and you can find out a lot of things and stuff like gossip and the negative side of campaign ads and like information about candidates and stuff, I guess, comes out. So like in election time, there's a lot of things that fly around that maybe wouldn't have flown around so much before the internet became such a huge part of our society. But I also think with elections, the internet makes it a little more transparent most of the time, because you can get information like as soon as it appears, which may not be the best thing because people don't always know how to interpret that or what to do with it. I mean, I guess it could also be bad because we saw our SLU election, the internet, I guess, screwed up a lot of things when they were trying to do that. So I think the internet right now is kind of creating a huge mess with politics and the way it works, and we haven't really adjusted our system to the internet. But I'm sure in the future it'll make everything a lot faster, more efficient.
Change politics? Well, everything's so fast and so quick with easy access information that it's kind of, I don't know, I think things can get blown out of proportion pretty quickly. And I don't know, I think people just need to slow down with the technology or the internet and politics. I don't know.
So what do you think about internet freedom and its relationship with political rights?
Well, I think that with anything that regards free speech and things like that, there will always be people that will abuse that privilege. I think that that for the most part, I'm supportive of it. But the question is what do you do when people start using that freedom to hurt other people? In terms of government intervention and things like that. I guess it would be a fine line between setting up policy that could even be enforced, or like who the government would choose to enforce it on, and so I guess with anything, when you're talking about freedom of speech, essentially that's what you're talking about there, right? It seems like that's like been an ongoing battle for quite some time, and no one's has really been able to figure out a good way to do that in any medium. So I guess I'm not sure how the internet would be any different there. But I guess in terms, of, you mentioned specifically protest and things like that, and I guess I would have to be supportive of that kind of thing, because in the world that we live in now, it seems like it's getting easier and easier for governments and authorities to silence people. And I think that the internet is probably one of the last few places where they can't really do that. But also, anyone who's spent any time on the internet can also understand that there's a lot of things out there that people shouldn't necessarily be exposed to, and shouldn't necessarily be able to do the things that they're doing, but they are. So I guess I don't really have a great answer to that question, but it's certainly one worth discussing.